Hey YouTube, it's Matt with Olympus Reptiles, and it is time for another interview segment of our Olympus Reptiles news, which is why I'm dressed in my fancy suit. And today we have a very special guest with us today through Facebook Messenger is Blue Line Morphs and Devin Baker. So,
Come on, guys.
you ready to do this?
Let's do it.
Okay, for those of you who are new, we have a pretty simple question format. We have 4 questions we ask everybody, 4 questions that I pick, and then 4 questions I draw out of my random question cup of doom. Some are easy, some are not easy, and Skull Vikings. Just in case, screw the Packers, if there's any Packer fans out there. All right, so...
I don't have it.
Oh, you a Packer fan?
I am a Jet fan.
Oh, Jets are okay. I don't mind them. You guys helped us get Brett Favre in Minnesota because you took the 1-year rental on him with the bad elbow year and then sent him to us, where he had a good year and a bad year.
He cancel out his contract, then he can go to
we appreciate it. Let's get right down to it. So our first question for you is going to be, what has been your biggest success in reptiles?
Oh, I'm just getting started. Like, I as a kid, I was always the kid that was catching toads, catching turtles, keep them for a while and let them go. I did that my entire life. I used to take trips down to South Carolina, and I would make, like, terrariums with my grandfather, because he lives down there, and I would literally have, like, a whole setup, like, 120-gallon tank. And then I lived in Queens for 2 or 3 years for work. About a year ago, I bought my house, and I decided, you know what? I want to get something else. I went to the reptile store. I ended up getting bit by a ball python, and then I bought a small ball python. Yeah, I was like, "You need juveniles?" And he takes it out and just latches onto me. I just look at him. He's like, "Oh my god!" I'm like, "Are you fucking kidding me?" So then I ended up buying a real small one from him, and then I just started researching more about ball pythons. I had some as kids. I fell in love with all the morphs, and then it just kind of took off from there. So as far as success, I had my first clutch like a week ago, and that's been my biggest success so far.
Hey, you know what? That first clutch, though, honest to God, that'll be one of your biggest successes for a long time. I mean, that is still... My first clutch was not memorable because I killed the whole damn thing like an idiot. But the first time I actually hatched babies is still one of the greatest moments I've ever had in this. It's that validation of, holy shit, I can actually do this, and getting that first one under my belt just made a huge thing. So that's not a small achievement. I bet if you run the numbers of people who say, I'm going to breed snakes, and this is going to get me in trouble, and you look at how many of them actually get to that point where they have clutch number 1, I bet it's less than 30%.
Yeah, I would agree. You know what's funny is, like, everyone makes fun of me for it, and I'm like, I don't give a shit. Like, I like it. That's what I want to do.
Yeah.
And once I posted the picture of the eggs, I was like, in the group text at work with all the other cops, all, you know cops are, they destroy you. And as soon as I posted, I said the eggs, I was like, listen, you guys say what you want. I'm like, I'm actually doing it now. I was like, here's my eggs. And they were like, they all have COVID. I was like, all right.
See, I'll tell you, I used to get so much shit, and I still get a little shit at work for the people who don't like snakes. But where it turned around was, this is my one flex moment I've ever had doing this job. So I had an old 99 Corvette. I love cars. And it caught on fire, and it burned up, right? And it was pretty much totaled. So I took what the insurance gave me, and then I upgraded to a newer one. So I had a payment on it. But the payment was actually being made by what we do through YouTube. And so then when people give me shit, like, you see that car? Yeah, I'm like, it's buying me that. And they'd be like, oh, fuck. I don't know what to say to that.
Yeah.
And then we bought the reptile house, and so that's when people at work really started to realize, like, holy shit, you're onto something. And it turned from giving me shit to asking me, well, how did you set that up, or how did you do this for a second career? As guys are starting to look past their law enforcement career as to what they want to do next, because they're like, wait a minute, you bought a house with snakes? I'm like, yeah, they live in it. It ain't mine, it's theirs. But yeah, we bought a house with snakes.
Yeah, I own property now.
Yeah, it starts to hit home, and they quit screwing with you. They think more of like, damn, what am I going to do when my time comes? Because I'm looking at I'm on the home stretch, you know what I mean, for my career, so for my day job. But the next one we have, so we asked about the success, we got to ask about the biggest failure. What is your biggest failure in reptiles?
My biggest failure in reptiles? I think in the very beginning, instead of like honing myself into actual products I want to work with, I was just buying everything. Like, I would literally walk my first like reptile expo, like as a snake breeder trying to start a business or trying to get a customer. I walked in, I made a left, I saw a banana, and won for no rhyme or reason. And then I was on Craigslist, and this chick had like a couple cool snakes, I bought them, like for no reason. So that kind of set me back. Because had I had a plan in the beginning, I think I would have had not more success, but I would have been further along my journey now instead of just having a bunch of shit thrown around.
I bet we all have done that too. I know I've bought. Kurt, if Kurt's off camera, have you ever bought something that you didn't have a rhyme or reason for? Kurt's saying no. He's full of shit. We've all done it. But that does bring us to our first question from the cup. We'll shake it up here. This should make you nervous because I redid everything. I just pulled them out and jumbled them up because last week they got kind of repetitive. And we'll see. We'll see if the cup's going to be nice to you or not nice.
Let's see it.
Oh. This is okay. This is not too bad. This is a would you rather question.
Okay.
And so it is, would you rather piss sand or shit bricks, literally?
I'd rather shit bricks, because if I piss sand, it could fuck up other extracurricular activities.
It could.
The shit thing, you just put a Band-Aid on it and you can move.
Oh man, I don't know. Bricks big though, dude. That's.
Yeah. Okay, would you rather ass hurt or your dick not work?
This is true. I mean, this is yeah. This is very, very true.
Like the first time you shoot a brick, it hurts. After that, you kind of get used to it, right?
Kind of gets easier.
Keep
Yeah.
pissing sand, it's gonna keep tearing you up.
It's like if you do 3 or 4 years in the penitentiary, you can crap in 3 seconds. You know.
Right.
It's not so bad.
Coming out.
It's like prolapse issue, right?
That's it.
Okay. Question 4, and you kind of hit on this a little bit in question 1, but how did you get started in reptiles?
As a kid, honestly, so I didn't actually do a whole video on it. So when I was a kid, I always been to the quads and, riding the dirt bikes with my brother. My brother's 9 years older than me. I'll never forget this. I was probably 5, 6, maybe 7 years old. On the back of like an old Yamaha. We're cruising. He locks the brakes up on me. And he goes in front of me and he picks up what I thought was a rock. It was like kind of like getting ducked, right? And he comes up and he hands it to me. It was about this big. It was a female Eastern box turtle.
Oh, really cool.
Yeah, and like I held it like this and went back, and I got like I started ripping grass out of the ground, throwing it in like a shoebox, and then the next day my dad took me to Petland discounts, and then I bought like a tank 4, and I started doing more research on it, and then it just went from there, bro. It went from that to then an iguana, then green tree frogs. I used to walk in my bedroom like my friends would think it was a zoo, because there was literally like how the rack behind me, it was just different tanks. I had all types of shit, and it just always was like that. I just always found I was always a really big turtle guy. I love turtles. I have had matamatas, alligator snapping turtles, sulcatas, all types of stuff, and that's how it began for me. And then it just always stuck with me. And with going through BD, I took a back burner because I didn't have time. And living in Queens, and now it's that passion. Like right for like I'm 5 years ago. Like I'm 5 years old again. Just back just didn't go away.
Yep, it reignites so easy is the funny thing when you get going. Now you mentioned something I caught in there that probably wasn't really a main part of the story, but you had a brother that was 9 years older than you.
Yeah.
I was kind of in a similar boat. Mine's about 6 years older than me. So I also noticed recently one of your Instagram posts that you used to do a lot of powerlifting. Was that so you could beat your older brother's ass? I'm just curious.
Oh no, I'll tell you. When I was a kid, so I'm 6'1". Right now I'm 6'1", 280. I used to walk around about 330, and then listen, being strong, squatting 700 is cool, but so is tying your shoes and breathing. So I decided to take lose a little bit of weight, just be healthier, and I did sacrifice some strength. So when I was a kid, I used to get picked on by all my brother's friends. Once I hit like 14, 15, 16 years old, I started getting bigger than them, and it wasn't so much anymore. He's short, fat anyway, so it's not even an issue. But honestly, I didn't play football, lacrosse anymore. I fought MMA for a little bit, so I stopped doing that. I needed something to occupy myself, so I got into the powerlifting thing.
Yeah, well, I saw that you posted on Instagram. I was like, holy shit, this dude's a beast, So.
Well, it's an excuse to eat everything you want, right? You can go to McDonald's 4 times a day. Like, I got to squat tonight, guys. I got to eat.
Damn. See, my problem is I don't squat and I eat everything I want. That's my problem. So.
I mean, if you're missing 50%, it's fine.
That's what I got half right. So then where do you see, this is the last pre-done question, where do you see this industry going long term?
Reptiles or like ball pythons or just me in general?
Reptiles.
I think reptiles, I think people will always be fascinated by reptiles. I love my dog. I love dogs. Like I hit a door on surf. I do surf. So I hit a door on a surfboard. There's a dog there. The perps are running this way, and I'm playing with the dog. I get in trouble for it all the time. I love dogs, but I think there'll always be a fascination for reptiles.
Right.
And I think it's not going to go anywhere. I think it's more advanced than it was when I was a kid. When I was a kid, I didn't have all these different morphs and genetic mutations, be it in ball pythons or some, even the bearded dragons now, stuff like that. But I think sky's the limit. I think it's just going up. I don't think it's going to go down anytime soon.
Awesome. I agree. I think it's also as more and more people are on the world and we're busier, I can keep a snake and it doesn't give a shit if my dog wants me to play with it for 2 hours a day.
Right.
Snake don't care. Snake would rather I didn't, to be honest. So I think that's...
Somebody asked me the other day, they're like, Bake, you're going to have 40, 50 snakes in your house. what happens if you go on a vacation? I'm like, I fill the water bottle up, the water bowl up, I give them a rat, and I come back in 10 days.
Yeah.
Everything's fine.
Yeah,
They're cool.
Yep. I usually have somebody come and check on them just to make sure, but they're so easy. It's not like, you're right, it ain't like a dog, you ain't got to board it, you ain't got to do nothing. It's simple.
And especially with ball pythons, the sky's the limit, man. We're going to keep finding genes, we're going to keep putting things together and compiling things. It's just going to keep going.
Well, and ball pythons, they're kind of the perfect animal from a marketability standpoint because they're easy to care for. It's so funny when you were talking about your first experience in the pet shop there, the ball python bit you, because that's unusual. They're not known to be biters, so they're pretty easy going on that. When they do bite, it's not very damaging, and they're relatively good sized. I mean, they're big enough to have a big, nice snake, but not so big that you can't deal with them. It's very hard. Like, I love carpet pythons, but they don't fit that mold. They're active. They're bigger. They freak people out because of that. Ball pythons are just this perfect size for captivity.
I will say this. I was dating this girl. She hated snakes. And I had her looking at some of the ball pythons. And she's looking, she's like, all right, they seem kind of calm. They kind of own little world. And then I took her over to look at the retic. I have a purple albino retic that's probably about 6-7 months old. And she knew nothing about snakes. As soon as she saw the retic, she was like, that's not the same thing. I'm like, sure it is. Look at it. She goes, no, it's not. She goes, that thing just looks different. That retic, man, you open that terrarium, it just looks at you. And it's either like she's in a good mood to come right out, or she looks at you and she wants to tag you. And it's just funny. Somebody that knew nothing about snakes knew that ball pythons were much calmer, much more collected, and like relaxed compared to like another snake.
Absolutely. And just those on your background, I'm like shiny squirrel. Does the snake in your background image have a red eye and a blue eye?
It does.
That is cool, because I know why you're doing that. We'll get to that in a minute, though.
Yeah.
I got a question about that. But I just picked up on that. I think that's awesome. But that does bring us to the next rando.
Well, let me ask you, what morph is the snake?
Well, that would appear to be a pied clown.
Yeah.
No, I didn't want to say that out loud because Kurt's looking at me now because Kurt loves his clown stuff. So he's like, why don't we have a pied clown?
Got a clown pied coming.
Oh, this one is from one of our Patreon members. Speaking of which, if you guys haven't figured out yet, if you're not on Patreon, this is the best month ever to get on Patreon because if you do, everything that we get this month that's new, any new subscriber we get, we're going to donate to the NYPD for them. I'm going to make sure I say this right, the Widows and Children Fund, correct?
Right, yeah.
So this is the best time ever to sign. You can come, stay for 1 month, and then leave, and you don't give me a dime. You give it all to them. And if you don't even want to mess with that, just hit us up through our PayPal, send it there, mark it NYPD, and we'll make sure it gets where it needs to go. But your next rando question is from David W. on Patreon. I'm sure you probably have heard him talk a few times. And he wants to know, how often do you check your balls? Answer that any way you want.
Well, see, it depends on what I'm wearing. See, if I'm in the gym and I'm running around, I gotta pull my balls off from being stuck on my thigh often. If I have like my tag pants on, again, they get crushed, so I gotta check on them often. I live by myself, so I like to just run around where I'm good. But as far as my ball pythons go, probably in the morning, just to see what everybody's doing, make sure nothing's good, no problems. Then at night, I check on them again.
Perfect.
It's something I get bored. It is what it is.
Now, we're going to ask a question that's going to have to do with those eyes, and that is, and I know the answer, so I want to make sure everybody else hears the answer to it. Blue Line Morphs, what does that name mean?
I'm a cop. So, I'll be honest with you. This whole thing of me breeding ball pythons started as a joke, right? We're in the bar, a bunch of my buddies were hanging out, I'm going to breed ball pythons. And they're like, oh, what are you going to call it? I was like, I'm going to call it Baker's Balls, So originally my Instagram channel was Baker's Balls, and then one day I kept progressing. I was like, no, I'm going to breed ball pythons. I was like, I can't market Baker's Balls. Like, it's just, you can, but it's just, not. So I'm sitting there like, you know what? Let's do something like, if this is a passion of mine since I was a kid, well, what is my other passion? That's law enforcement, right? You know how it is. Yep. You're a cop. It's not just a job to you. It's who you are. You don't turn it off. You don't hang up your hammer and go home. Like, it doesn't matter what you're doing.
Right.
Even when you're retired, you're still going to do it. So I've always been very proud of that. So I think, Blue Line Morphs is just the way to go. And I know I actually was hesitant at first. I was like, you know what? Some people might not want to do business with me. Might not want to watch me because I'm a cop. There's the conversely, I don't want those people doing business with me. I don't want them watching me. And then I figure also it could introduce people to the hobby of ball pythons that don't know anything about it. I'm at a reptile expo. You see, the blue line flag. I want to read it. You have the blue line flag up, and they see me as a cop, and they knew nothing about ball pythons, and they're a turtle guy, and they're a bearded dragon guy. So, what's going on, bro? Where do you work? Blah blah blah. And also, next thing you know, he's buying a ball python, and now our industry and our hobby's growing.
Excuse me, maybe I got to touch the cough myself. Hopefully it ain't COVID.
You get into the camera.
That's right. When I first got into this, I didn't know how much I wanted to say I was a cop either. So I totally understand that. And then it kind of just, and you're right, when you've done that for so long, it's going to come up. So it's out there, and people know what my day job is. And there are people that won't do things with us or that will dislike us automatically because of that. But I don't care. You can't make everybody happy. But what I have found is there are so many cops in the hobby. Like, it blew my mind how many of us there are. And then you start hearing about guys that are what I really want to be, the guys that used to be a cop and then have now retired and do just ball pythons. There's one in Nebraska. There's one in Florida. Actually, the guy in Florida, Greg Graziani's a pretty famous breeder. I believe he was responsible for the first pastels. And also, like, albino alligators, I think. He was really early in on those. So, it's just amazing. Wouldn't that be awesome?
15 grand, though. I don't know.
That's why he's a retired cop now, see? And then I'm trying to think of the guy in Nebraska's name, and I can see his face. He's going to see this and yell at me. But he also, is now retired and doing just that. But they both have, I know his career was over 20 years. So, they did a full career, too. And so there is a lot of support, I think, for the law enforcement community within ball pythons, more so than I expected. And I think that's a great thing to see. There's always going to be the haters, but you know what? Screw those dudes.
What are you going to say to me on YouTube and Instagram that I haven't heard of the projects? You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, what are you going to do? What are you going to say? I think the reason why, there's a lot of firefighters too, EMTs and guys like that, because you go to work on a Monday, you might not get home till Wednesday night.
Yeah.
Now with a hobby like this, or a hobby or a side business like this, you're a construction worker or you're doing something else, you got to constantly do it. But with our job, our vocation, if we get stuck at work for a couple of days, this can kind of be okay by itself for a day or two. You know what I mean? I think that really helps us also.
See, we're pretty fortunate. I think the longest I've ever worked on one shift was about 20. So I've always made it home. Yeah. But my commute's also only like 15 minutes, so
yeah,
I don't have traffic,
There's days where you have like a search warrant, like scheduled for like 5 a.m. We hit that door, we talk to that guy, we get his gun, then he leads us down a rabbit hole, and then all of a sudden, next 3 days goes by, and it's bad when you start to smell yourself. Back to the balls question, you start to smell your own balls, that's when you know it's time to go home, because it's seeping through everything. That's my cutoff. 72 hours, I'm out.
Oh, the only thing I've ever had seep through all my clothes and in my patrol car was unfortunately dead rotten body, man.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and it was so bad. I remember I was sitting in the our bullpen. Yeah, well, I'm doing paperwork. I'm tired. It's been a long day, and somebody comes in and they go, "Man, who was in?" I don't know what number car I was driving because we share cars. He goes, "It smells like something died in there." I'm like, "Oh, that was me," and yeah, something pretty much did. We had to comb that car off and send it in for full disinfect because it was that bad. It was.
You never get that smell out of your nostrils. You gotta cut all the hairs out. You gotta throw the clothes away.
Oh yeah, it was. I was just, and then I couldn't smell myself so much because I'd been in this house for 2-3 hours with this maggot farm, and it was horrible. It was terrible. But I'll never be like, what? It smells like something died. Yeah, it did.
Yeah, it turns out that's what happened.
But our next question, we kind of started hitting on the cop thing a little bit. Is you're at NYPD, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, so with being a member of NYPD, what are you seeing on the ground level in society with the COVID-19 pandemic? Because that's ground zero.
Well, you want me to take you from the beginning,
Sure.
how I experienced it, or you want to see what I currently see right now?
Why don't we start at the beginning and work our way up?
Okay. So we all, remember when, a bunch of the Americans got stuck in that cruise ship, they were quarantined? Yep. Everyone's like, oh, COVID, trying to eat bats and shit, And not that it was a joke, whatever. You know what I mean? How many times do we hear this on the news and the pandemics, this disease? We didn't think nothing about it. I think the first case was over in Washington, right? Yeah. Or Oregon, whatever it was. We were like, yeah, of course. It's across the Pacific Ocean, no big deal. And then all of a sudden we were like, okay, so the governor's kind of freaking out. They're like, whatever, no big deal. He'll shut down the bars for the weekend. Then it was like, people are getting in Manhattan. And then our thought process, well, yeah, all the tourists in Manhattan. Nobody comes to the hood. Nobody comes to the ghetto. We're good. Cops aren't going to get it anyway. It's just the people that are coming in contact with tourists. Then it was, the entire first precinct, whatever precinct it was, has it, and they're shutting the precinct down and shipping other cops in. We're like, oh shit, this is kind of getting fucking serious now, Mm-hmm. Then it was we use the bathroom at the hospital sometimes. Then it was we're still out and about, and we go to use the bathroom at the hospital, and you just see the beds lined up in the hallways. all the people were coughing, people were choking, nobody's around them because nobody wants to get it. And then you ever seen the show Dexter?
Yes. Not all
He
of
has like
them.
a whole mask on. That was all the doctors too. So when you go to the hospital, I really feel like the nurses have like a passion that maybe like cops don't have. But when you have them dressed up like that, people just become zombies. And I remember everyone just being in the hallways. We didn't have masks with hand sanitizer, and they were just like left there coughing. And then it slowly progressed. Then a Brooklyn precinct got it, which is the next precinct over. And then all of a sudden we're like, oh shit, I think this is serious, Then we started putting masks on, using the hand sanitizer. Then it was, oh, the NCO office in my precinct has it. Then my entire precinct got shut down. Then eventually my team got it. So it really went from like within 7 to 10 days, it went from, a bunch of people stuck on a cruise ship to all of New York is shut down. The hospitals are overrun. I felt bad for like the EMTs. Like FDNY has an EMT like section,
Right.
And those guys, you'd see them, they were shot, man, because like they were nonstop. You'd see, the ambulance be hanging on the side sometimes on the road, hanging out waiting. You never saw them waiting anymore. You'd see them go into the hospital. They drop off like a patient. They'd shoot out. You'd see that same. We call them buses. The ambulance called a bus to us. We would see the same bus taken off on Carson somewhere, grabbing someone else and bringing them back. And then it was a little like, oh shit, like this is really serious. And it hit really quickly and really hard and disrupted everything about me.
See, I give EMTs such a hard time because they have a bedtime here. Go to bed, get your nap in. We'll wake you up if you need something. But it sounds like they were just running nonstop there, like just constant.
And so we have, what's funny? I don't remember the radio codes anymore, so I don't use the radio. But I believe it's 54, which is essentially somebody's sick or it's whatever. They don't need the bus, and it got to a point where we actually had to make like a new radio code just for COVID.
Oh,
we would come over like 54 COVID, 54 COVID, 54 COVID. That's all you hear, bro. We're a place that went from, shots fired, burn in progress, assault in progress to COVID. And it went from like, we're a very, very like active and proactive special ops team. And we weren't leaving the precinct because we weren't allowed to.
Right.
What am I going to do? I'm going to go hit the door and go to somebody's house, And then if they have COVID, I'm going to get shot with it. So it didn't really work that way. I still got it. This.
Yeah, but you said you still ended up catching it, correct?
Yeah. So again, it's like dominoes, bro. So they say like, stay home, stop the spread, and everyone's like, oh, bullshit. Especially in New York, it's like, whatever, they do what we want to do. And it's really true though, because it literally went from like one guy on my team was like joking around like, oh, I can't taste anything. We all started throwing shit at him, and we got him essentially kicked out of the precinct, sent home. But he had it, and because he touched the desk, or he touched the pen, touched the computer. So I was good. We were working out in the precinct, we were hanging out, we were doing our thing. And I remember it was a Friday night, we went to somebody's house for a consent to search form, right? We were trying to snag this guy with a burner. And I was okay. I felt a little tired, but I had just done back in the powerlifting thing, I had done a really high volume squat workout on Thursday. So most of the time when I do that, my body's beat up, right?
Right.
I started to feel that, I pushed it aside, knee head cop, right? But by the time I left that house at 11 o'clock p.m., I started coughing on the way to the precinct. My partner's looking at me, he's going like this. I'm like, no, give me back. The time I left my precinct, got home with that 55-minute drive, in the shower in bed, I had 102 fever in the chills.
Oh.
Within an hour. And then over the next 5 or 6 days, I go through that too if I don't care. So the next day I woke up, I was super, super, super sore. I felt like somebody beat me with a baseball bat. Like me to get out of bed, slowly get up. But it was manageable. Pop some Tylenol. Don't be a bitch. Now, again, I understand people died. I understand people got hit a lot harder. For me, it was like, all right, I've had fevers, I've had aches, I've had the chills. Keep it moving.
Yeah.
The two things that really bothered me was the breathing and the taste and smell. So I was cleaning my bathroom like bleach. You know what I mean? Like after a couple seconds of cleaning, you start getting lightheaded and shit. You gotta I wasn't getting that. I was like, oh, this is weird. So I was like, oh fuck, I lose my sense of smell. I started spraying my cologne. I couldn't smell anything. That kind of freaked me out. And you couldn't taste beer, which is a big, big problem. I don't care how sick I am. Beer.
You gotta be able to taste beer.
So then the next day, I was laying in bed. And I woke up. And I got a 90-pound pig. She sleeps with me all the time, And she woke me up. I was laying on my back. I remember laying there, and I was breathing. Well, I was trying to explain to you before, people go shortness of breath or you're out of breath. That's not what it was. It was the only way I can picture it is if I breathe in deeply, right? And let's say you're getting 10 cubic feet of air, whatever the measurement is. And your body utilizes 90% of that for oxygen levels, whatever. I was still breathing in that 10 cubic feet of air, but my body was only utilizing 40 to 50% of it. So I would breathe in normally, and I would exhale, and only a couple seconds we breathe in again. I have to breathe in right away. So listen, we're chunky, you know what I mean? We're fat. So like we're always out of breath.
Right.
This is like a different thing, you know what I'm saying? Like my chest felt tight, which caused my back to feel tight. It just felt like somebody was pushing on my chest the whole time. I was constantly not gasping for air, but like I couldn't catch up with it. I wasn't out of breath. You know what I'm saying? I wasn't winded. I couldn't catch up with my oxygen levels. So if you and I were having this conversation, I would have to stop and breathe. Or if I went downstairs to do laundry, I would have to stop and breathe. I couldn't talk for more than 30, 40 seconds without even, I got to catch up now.
See, if any of my coworkers watch this, they're going to want me to catch COVID because I've been accused of talking way too much my entire career. And I got the gift of gab. It's kept me out of trouble a lot, but they're like, man, let him get a little bit of that. So it sounds like that would be like, for me, the worst part is just not feeling like I can breathe. You know.
You can deal with the fever. You can deal with the fever. You can deal with the aches and pains. No, don't smell poison. You'll be all right. You know. And as far as the breathing, that's the only thing where you have no control over. So if you have asthma, you have stuff like that, like it can be real bad. That's what I think it really, really hit people. Because I hate to say it, I remember walking through like some of the hospitals, and again, the ER that was only overrun in Brooklyn to begin with. I mean, they were lining always, bro. Like in places that were in ERs, bed. And a lot of these people were bigger people. With that being said, there's a lot of people that were healthy as could be. There's one sergeant in my precinct, I think 6'4", 240, jacked. And it crushed him. So, I don't know.
It does seem like it hits, you know, like you can get a mild case or you can get a nasty, nasty case too.
Yeah.
Which is kind of scary. I mean, we've been really fortunate where we're at that the cases have been, they've been pretty low throughout the state of Kansas, but not in all places. We Kansas had a couple hundred deaths, I want to say. Haven't checked lately.
I think we were talking this the other day. We've lost like 41 members.
Yeah, you sent me the member list. It was 41 total department members. I want to say 25 police officers, correct?
Yeah. Well, let me touch on this. So, you know, we were hearing about people dying, right? You asked like how it affected us. I remember we were on the news, people were dying from it, a couple casualties. And what really started hitting home was at one police plaza, our headquarters, there's a custodian that's been there for like 30 years. He died. Yeah. And then once he died, everyone's like that's the first NYPD, like, listen, whether you're a cop, I don't care if you're fucking dusting shelves, taking garbage out, or you're the chief of the department, or you're the commissioner, we're all NYPD family. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I don't care what you do. Nobody should be treated differently. So once one of us went down, even though it was a custodian or whatever the case may be, it was at home, and then it was like traffic agents, and then it was, you know, these guys are always out there pointing cars around, you know, and stuff. There's traffic agents, school safety agents, and then, you know, people that are actually police officers in the department. I think you're right. I think it was 41 passed away. I think it was 25 or 26 were actually police officers. The other ones were civilians.
And that's all. I think at least one was communications, which I'm guessing is dispatch.
Communications, or it could just be people that play with the phones and shit.
Okay. So we're not big enough. They're all dispatch for us. We don't have just the phone ones.
Well, we were talking about, you know what's funny is my mom's a sheriff in Lawrence County, South Carolina, right?
Okay. And I thought you were going to say Lawrence, Kansas for a second. I was like, oh man, KU. This would be bad.
But I think her department has like 43 members.
Yeah.
Right? And I was Operation Impact, which was you graduated the academy and you got put in the ghetto precinct and they put you in football. Have fun, enjoy. Where it was like, oh, post 29. Like, oh, where's that? Look on the map. How do you get there? Walk. Okay. And there were times where I was standing in roll call with just impact cops, like 70 cops.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think we had like 38,000 members.
See, we have like 6 cops working a shift sometimes, you know? And we're weird. I work at an agency that is, we're the only place that doesn't have a sheriff.
Well, you have elected officials, right, as cops?
No.
Well, isn't the sheriff an elected official?
But we don't have a sheriff.
Oh, so you guys just do what the fuck you want.
Yeah, we're the only county in the state of Kansas with no sheriff where I happen to work. So what we have is it's a consolidated department. So there's no other police departments. Like, you know, we're the largest city is about 55,000 people. And we are the city police for that. We're the city police for our smaller towns. We also act as a county sheriff's department. And then there's a board that like oversees us and hires our chief. We call him a director, but we just all call him chief. And they hire him. So there's elected officials controlling the board, and they appoint him. And that's how they keep, you know, elected officials involved. Which is like some city commissioners, some county commissioners, one appointed at large, and then our county attorney are on that board. So we're really unique, but it's
I different. That, bro. because like my only experience as a cop is I'm a number. It's very paramilitary. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm not gonna give out my number because then I'll get sued again. But I'm a number. I'm a six. I don't need help again. Trust me. And I'm a 6-digit number.
Right.
You know what I mean? And people in the neighborhood, well, the gang, they're harsher people, if you will. They know who we are, but like. I envy the close knit like community policing. I'll never have it.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's weird.
Like in Brooklyn, there's 10 million people in New York City. You know what I mean? Like I don't have that close knit. Like if I call an 85, which means a cop needs help, there's like 40 cops, no exaggeration, 40 or 50 cops within 30 seconds will be in. You know what I mean?
That's a luxury we don't have.
Yeah. See that's why you guys get those solo cars and you're like 20 you're on your own, which I give you guys respect for that because I'm used to like I need assistance and also I turn around and it's a gang running at me,
See,
that being said though, I don't have that close knit.
With us, like in the city, I'm going to get help pretty quick if I ever need it, and that's what I spend 99% of my time anymore. Because mostly what I do is I don't do a lot of patrol work anymore. I do mostly we do all the court documentation and then I do all the warrant work. So like
but you got 20 years on. You earned that right at this point.
Hopefully, right? Extraditions. I've been traveling doing my own extraditions. We can't get transport companies lately. But with that, I've worked in the city and I've worked pretty much every shift in our city. So we have a city unit and then we have a unit that works in rural areas. I've also worked at rural area. And there, if you need help, 20 minutes at places.
Yeah.
I mean, you're just on your own, And everybody's got a gun. You deal with a bunch of crazy farmers. I mean, and there ain't one of them that doesn't, I used to laugh when dispatch, they said they have weapons in the house. I'm like, what? No. Really? They got like, what? Yeah.
See, down there, they all have weapons because you guys are allowed to have weapons, because I think you should. But up in Brooklyn, they all have weapons, but they're not supposed to have them.
Right. Yeah. I mean, here they'll tell you, oh yeah, I got this. It's just okay, But it's
so when I go to visit my mom, I go to like Walmart, and there's open carry down there.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden, I'll see someone open carry, and my heart will start racing. I'm ready to go into full like cop mode. My mom's like, relax. Like if he's a cop off duty, or it's a farmer is allowed to have a gun. It's a whole different lifestyle.
See, we've gone full constitutional concealed carry. So anybody who can legally own a gun can concealed carry. To the point that up until a couple of years ago, there was no security in our courthouse. We had one cop assigned to the courthouse, just to arrest people, at trials and things like that. And when they passed that law, they now said that if you don't provide security there with armed officers and checkpoints in and out, that anybody can take a gun to court. So now we have to provide security at courthouses.
Yeah.
Because you can't have people bringing guns to court. That's just
it would be a shit show.
Yeah. I mean, it probably wouldn't even be the bad guys you're worried about. It's a dude who's got a daughter who's a victim, and if that dude gets off, he's going to take care of himself. You can't have that guy bringing a gun to court either.
You know what? Rightfully so.
Sometimes, right? But that does bring us to lighten the mood a little bit to another random question.
I know, we got a little weird there for a second.
Oh, that's what happens. You got two cops talking about things. Our conversations are never the normal society conversations.
No.
Oh. I don't know who wrote this one. This sounds like something Kurt would write. Weirdest place you found your balls? Answer that any way you want to.
I told you ask me questions. Listen, I'll put it this way, okay? I told you ask me questions. I'm going to give you the honest answer.
That's right.
I'm going to put it this way. There is a sword for every dragon. And I've had my sword in a lot of dragons at times. I did go away to school, and I did drink a lot, so those have been some weird nights.
Some weird nights. We've never had an escape ball python then, huh?
Okay. So, fortunately, I haven't. With that being said, if you pay attention to my job, I got robbed from Racing Reptiles.
Yeah.
Living with me right now. And when he brought his whole, which is now my ARS, right? He brought it up from Florida in a U-Haul. And we took it out. There was like 4 or 5 ball pythons missing. And it was funny. So I guess these tubs were like opening and closing as you're driving, and they were taped. So one would be missing from here, it'd be over here. Or one would be over here, and you had 3 in here. And he was like, what the fuck happened in there? I'm like, I don't know. But fortunately, no, I haven't lost anything yet.
Okay. Well, at least they went back into another tub. That's just called auto breeding. They're just picking their own breeding pairs and doing it for you.
With that being said, I'll text you tomorrow. I'm going to lose something now. I'm not going to work.
I've had a few escapees. It happens. My worst one's my gator. He gets out all the time. He's smart.
I would love to have a gator.
Oh, man, I tell you, a dwarf caiman's the way to go. Because you can keep him in the house. They don't get too big. That's what we got. He's awesome. He's a dick, But I love that little dude.
Yeah.
So next question we have is, how has the pandemic affected life at your department, like currently? We kind of talked about the history. What is life like there now?
So I had a month off, right, because I was sick.
Right.
Now, I didn't get to see the progression. So that's a good question. I didn't get to see the progression of how things changed in the precinct. I was just thrust into it 4 weeks later. So when you walk in our precinct, there's a long tunnel walking up into the actual precinct. And as soon as you get to the top of like the tunnel, like it's just incline,
Yeah.
someone's there with a thermometer. They take your temperature.
Yeah.
Anything over 100, you left. You gotta go. Gotta put a mask on. There's hand sanitizer everywhere. When we go on calls or like anything happens, everyone's got like the mask on. People yell. I hate wearing the mask. I'm like, I always say I'm a survivor. Like, I'm a survivor. I don't need it. But I always get yelled at for not having the mask on. So it's changed everything with my department so far. Like, there's no range anymore. There's no tactic trainings anymore.
Right.
They canceled the academies. Anything that requires a lot of cops in one area, they cancel. We're not allowed to roll 3 deep anymore. We're always in the river by ourselves in the NYPD, at least 2 deep. But except for the highway guys, but special ops always 3 deep. And so we can't have 3 deep anymore. They want it separated, like in the cars. It changed everything. That's the easy way to answer the question. Is it's changed everything.
See, and some things sound familiar because, like, we get our temperature taken. We're not doing the mask thing. There's hand sanitizer. For a long time they were trying to say, hey, take as many reports by phone as you can. They were trying not to go out and see people unless, obviously if we needed to, we were gonna. But if it could be done by phone, call them and do it by phone if possible and all those things. How long do you see that lasting? I mean, because it's such a different world where you're at than where we're at.
Well, supposedly, as of May 15th, which is next weekend, Cuomo said he's going to open the state back up a little bit. I just can't see that happen. Because here's the thing. If they're not going to open bars and restaurants and gyms and stuff like that, I think it's going to take 3, 4, 5 months before it turns back to normal. Let's be honest here. Like, all right, it's starting to, like, the initial hit happened, right? Now it's all calming down. We've kind of gotten used to this. Not that it's changed, but we've gotten used to this.
Right.
So if you open the state up, you open up gyms or clubs, whatever the case may be, too quickly, just because this, survival rate's 99%, whatever the case may be, I just really feel like if you open it up, if I have it, but I was asymptomatic, right? Never got tested, but I have it.
Right.
I touched this mouse at the library, okay? Now you come in. You touch that mouse at the library, it's open, right? You never got it. Now you got it on your hand, yeah? Mm-hmm. You touch your car. You touch your keys. You go home, you kiss your kids. Your wife drives the car, she touches the steering wheel, she goes into her job at wherever, at school or something, right? Is your wife a teacher?
She is a teacher.
She goes to the school. She touches chalk. She touches the doorknob. Most people touch it. And now we're spreading it again.
Right.
So, is it going to open up again? No, I think it's going to be like this for a little bit. I don't think it's going to be years, but I think 6, 7 months before we see any sort of normalcy.
See, in here, but again, ours is so much lower. We're starting to get a little bit of normalcy. Like, we just opened up, like a test phase, more or less. And it's like, hey, if everything doesn't get worse for 2 weeks, we'll open a little more, then a little more. And so I got to eat in a restaurant for the first time in probably 2 months. And, and of course, we were one of 3 people in there eating. And it's like only so many tables, and everybody's, but it's still at least something. So we're starting to get there. But man, I can understand where you're at. It just was such a, such a more condensed population. I can imagine how it just spread through an apartment building, through the elevator, and things like that. And our bars are still closed and those kind of things. When you add alcohol in mass quantities and everybody's your best friend, you got your arm around him, you're singing together, you're drinking.
Yeah, think about that.
If you're single, you're making out with the strange chick in the corner that you thought was hot until the next morning. And, you're going to just spread that all around.
There's so much for every dragon, man, I told you.
A sword for every dragon. I'm going to remember that one. I'm going to use it.
If she ain't 280, she ain't a lady.
Once the pandemic clears, and it will clear, like you talked about, it's going to clear. It's going to be years. How do you see the reptile market on the East Coast and especially in New York City?
Well, New York City, you can't sell reptile.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
What the hell?
Want to hear a funny story about that?
Yeah, I do, because that blows my mind.
My banana pied male, I bought him, August, right? So, I always have like a hoodie on. Like, if you could see my shield sticking out of the bottom of my gun sometimes if I have my hoodie on. So I went to pick this banana pied male up from Brooklyn, right? So the kid comes out, whatever, and he shows it to me, and he looks, and then he sees my shield, right? And he's like, oh shit, you gonna arrest me? I'm like, what? I'm like, no. He's like, why? I'm like, why would you ask me that? He's like, because you can't sell ball pythons in New York City. I was like, oh, I knew that.
Yeah. I was testing
of course
you.
You can't. So I was like, I'm just here for the snake, bro. He's like, oh, good. So yeah, you can't sell them in New York City. You can't have anything here.
Wow, that's mind-boggling. To me, I guess to me, you know.
I mean, I shouldn't say this, but whatever. You know, you want to come and get it, but I'm not supposed to have a read in New York either.
Really? Well, see, ours here, the state doesn't ban any of that, but most cities do. I live, our address says Manhattan, but I don't really live in Manhattan. I'm 20 minutes out because I can't be in the city limit because the city limit says anything over 6 feet. And for my crocodilian, it's anything over like 32 inches, which he is. And then you absolutely no to anything venomous. So for me to comply with the law and not be in my own IA office trying to explain shit, I have to live outside of town, I mean, I already have my own chair in there, so I don't, it's got my name on it and everything.
Oh, yeah, when you show, we have CCRB, which is Civilian Complaint Review Board, means somebody makes like a use of force complaint,
right?
Like GO15 there. When you show up, my phone connects to the Wi-Fi automatically. So.
That's awesome. You already got the password. You're good.
Yeah, I walk in like, hey, can you hear? I'm like, yeah, present. I'm like, all right, sit down. Yeah, talk to you when you're at sensitivity training. They're taking you to a Holocaust Museum.
So that's actually a cool museum. I've been to that one in DC.
No, listen, I enjoyed it, but so to answer your question, we get sidetracked easily. I don't think it's going to change. I think once this shit opens up, I think it's going to go back to business as usual.
Well, yeah, it sounds like business as usual in New York is no. That's what it's no reptiles. Man, it's crazy.
That's just the 5 boroughs.
The 5 boroughs. Yeah, you got a whole state, just not the city there. That brings us back to one more random question, and then that'll probably be it, unless Kurt says I forgot something he wants to add. Oh, this is an easy one. You got off easy on the last one. And it's just a song quote. And it says, "Do you like big butts and you cannot lie?"
Oh yeah, I am an ass guy through and through. Yeah. If you're like 4'11", like 130 pounds with like a fat ass, I'll fall head over heels for you.
So you like the short ones too, huh? I know a short girl.
You can toss them around.
Kurt's looking at me like, no. Kurt's not a short girl, but he's got a sister who's actually shorter than him. And I think 4'11" would be pushing it for her, wouldn't it? I don't think she makes 4'11".
Does she like chubby detectives?
I don't know. I'd have to find out. But she also isn't going to have a wide butt for you, man. It's like, cause she's a pretty skinny gal, pretty small gal all around.
No, I like fat butts. That's your question. That's your answer.
There you go.
Big fan.
All right, man. That is all we got. And for those of you out there too, make sure if you haven't signed, like say, sign on the Patreon or send us a donation. Let's help these guys out. That is a major amount of loss. I mean, looking at the numbers, I want to say you guys lose on average probably 12 people a year, right?
In regards to what?
And officers at NYPD. It's about 12 a year on average or so.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to say like someone gets shot and killed,
right?
I would say since I've been at too many funerals, but yeah, a couple line of duty deaths like violent deaths. Yeah, we lose about 10 to 12 various other things.
Yep. Because people have heart attacks at work and car accidents, and it runs the gamut. And so you've already, just with COVID, you doubled that.
True.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, total number of people. Yeah, absolutely. So if you ever thought about helping out NYPD, and I kind of feel like, I remember 9/11. 9/11 was a big thing for me, that right before I became a cop. I was doing 911 dispatch at the time. I wasn't 21 yet when that happened. And with that, I remember the outpouring of support and love like NYPD and NYFD got and everything else. And the entire country was really kind of behind those two departments with what they went through. And truth be told, you guys are still going through, for those guys who were there, and there's still cancer popping up and everything else. And I haven't seen that kind of groundswell support for this, but those departments are, especially I think, EMS in your case and PD in your guys' case. I don't know how involved the fire is with it. I don't know your guys' setup. Are just being ravaged, and we're having to go to those places and having to put themselves in that risk, and it's almost like a stretched out 9/11, you know, of a mess you're cleaning up, where you're at this high risk, but it's constant. Instead of getting, it's one big event and you're going to deal with it, and then it's going to kind of scale back.
Well,
It
it's
never
like
stops.
an invisible enemy. It's an
Right.
invisible enemy. It's like wherever you go, it's like you can't touch anything, you can't breathe, you can't be next to people. You know,
Right.
it sucks.
Yeah.
It's the easiest way to put it.
And so I hope we can get some support going, and I hope people out there
I appreciate it.
will do some
We trust
support.
We appreciate it.
You know, and even if it's not monetary, just to say thanks. You know, put that groundswell, let them know you're thinking about them, because it's not always the most loved job being a cop, is it? It's, you know, and we even ran into that. Like when we first started this, I had people get mad at me and like, well, you're trying to help NYPD, but they're this and they're that and they're this, and I'm like, look, there's 38,000 cops. I don't know what experience you had. I'm not going to tell you every cop's a good cop, no matter where you're at. But the vast majority of those people are good people, and they're there to help you. You know.
I mean, I'm sure you don't want to get into this, but a lot of those stories you hear about the NYPD are very heavily misconstrued by the media.
Oh, absolutely. I have no doubt about that. You know, a great example for us is we just got nailed in this story that was started on Twitter. This gal posted this video, and it's an officer dealing with this young teenager, and the video doesn't look good. Now, I don't know what happened before that. No idea. I couldn't tell you. And I never judge those because you don't know. You only see that snippet of the story. You don't see the whole thing. So I can't say he's right or wrong. I don't judge that. But the part you see looks pretty rough, you know. And she mentions the same initials RPD has. Problem is, she's in California. And, you know, and some dude gets on there, he's like, yeah, I knew those dudes there were like this, and they're all this and that, and boom, boom, boom. Here's their chief's information, start calling him. And so he's fielding all these angry phone calls, having to say, and even the girl that posted it said, whoa, dude, this is in California, not, you know, you got it wrong. And, you know, but it doesn't matter. You're right. And so this story, and there's people out there today who still think, oh, those guys there in Kansas did this. California, you know?
There's times where, like, I've been on scene. You know what I mean? They're talking about something I handled, and it's on the news, and I'm like, that's just not what happened.
Yeah.
That's not even remotely close. I was there. It's not even remotely close what happened.
Well, let's be honest. It doesn't make good news when you say, well, the cops came and did a good job. That doesn't make a good news story.
But everyone hates us, but, you know, they still dial 911 quite often. So.
That they do. And so hopefully we can get some support. And, you know, I can tell you here in our little neck of Kansas, we appreciate you guys a lot.
I really appreciate it, bro. I do.
Well, Kurt, you got anything you want to add? You know, they can't see you when you do that. He's shaking his head no, like it's a two-way camera. All right, do you got any questions, anything you want to add before we hop up off of here?
No, I'm good, man.
All right, hey, man, I appreciate you doing the interview with us. And like I say, guys, if you have anything, put it in the comments. Give some support to NYPD. Jump on the Patreon, send a donation. Let's help these guys out. And we will see you all next time.